Going to that like earliest memories. So you were born in
Georgia in 1985 when Georgia was still part of the Soviet Union, and my family moved to Greece in 1994 because of the soaring violent crime rates in Georgia. At that time, Georgia wasn't a safe place for non-Georgians. I can't remember exactly the year, but I'll never forget how my dad one day came home and replaced the wooden door of our apartment with a high security steel door. So I think this is exactly what convinced my parents that they had to move back to Greece.
Did your parents go back? I mean,
they traveled a few times back. They had property there, but I think last time was 2 years ago. I've never been there, never been back since 1994.
This is quite a difficult one for me to like unpack a couple of things because I totally understand, because in my own life I did not face those crises, but my parents faced those things, because the breakdown of the whole continent, and then displaced people all over the places. So it's quite, I think that's part of the human history. Homo sapiens are seriously, I mean, I don't know what we are. It's everywhere. If you look at Europe's history, the 15th century, 14th century, so the things about 30 years war before Westphalian Treaty, I mean, that killed half of the Germans' population. For what? Just unbelievable. What we are capable of. I'm not going there, okay? So you basically grew up in Greece.
Yes.
What city did you grow up?
So my family moved to Thessaloniki, which is the coal capital of Greece, and I attended the primary and high school in Thessaloniki, and I earned my bachelor degree as well in Greece.
So basically, I mean, your memory is all about Greece.
I have memories from Georgia, but obviously, I was 8 years old when they moved to Greece. So I have few memories from Georgia. Most of my memories are from Greece.
Can you just like unpack a bit, those earliest years, you moving from one country to another country to a very new setting. Obviously, language was different as well.
Language was different, yes, because the official language in Georgia was Russian, and that was the language that we used at home. But it's really easy for an 8-year-old to learn another language. So I think it took less than a few months to start speaking Greek. I enjoyed my childhood in Greece. I have only good memories. I think my parents made it very easy for us. We only have good memories because looking back now, moving from one country to another and starting, from the very beginning, it's not an easy thing to do. But yes, I think I had a very good childhood with lots of good memories, with caring parents and family members around. So I consider very lucky myself for having such a caring family.
I mean, what was the earliest time you were aware of, the things, the surroundings, the bigger picture, the political side of our lives?
I think at a very early age, my dad has interest in politics and in history, and this is something that we would always talk about when we were having our dinners or when we were gathering together. So, and I think this is where I also got the gene and what eventually, pushed me to study politics and IR, and then later do a PhD on it as well. I think I remember discussions about the collapse of the Soviet Union, about US-Russian relations very early. So all these things, were topics that we would discuss at home. I don't remember exactly, how old I was, but I remember those discussing these topics since, I can remember myself.
So like what it did to you, like, I mean, as a person, from that very beginning age, you were aware of your surroundings?
That's a very good question, Abdullah. I think what it did to me is it pushed me, it forced me in a way to study politics in IR. So that's what it did to me, because I think I started thinking a lot about how powerful states can affect the lives of ordinary people, how events can affect, how political events can affect the lives of ordinary people, how the collapse of the Soviet Union, for example, affected my life, my family's life. So that's what it did to me. And later on, again, I found that I'm happy when I read about things that have to do with politics. And I've tried different career paths, but it didn't work for me. I really wanted to be where I am today, just reading and researching on different topics related to politics.
I'll tell you just one small story of mine. I mean, I had a class last week with my third year students. It's a UN politics, but we talk quite a lot about Ukraine and other politics. And I've got a bunch of American students, and one of the students is actually from, her grandparents are from Ukraine. So obviously she was very upset, and then I was trying to, like, tell my story, how, these things affect our lives, the war. During the 1979, the Soviet invasion in Afghanistan, I was very young, so like your age when you were like living in Georgia. I mean, because of the journalism was quite, not much, censorship there during that time. So as a very young child, you got newspapers at your home, and you can see that on the front page, they put seriously, graphic picture of, children, I mean, I don't want to give more details here, but so that was my memory. That was my first memory of war, what war does. And I think as a child, I mean, when I was growing up, I was really petrified, and I was thinking of that Afghanistan is just next door. I mean,
is that what triggered your interest in politics and international relations?
Probably because, like, my family, my parents, my mother was a teacher, my father was he was in the banking sector, but they were politically very, very active, even during the this like independence war. But they were terrified about the there's like one funny story. Whenever there's a rumor that the army is coming, this like force, the Pakistani army is coming, so that means they will do something. If my father knows about that rumor, he'll be just gone for next 3 days, leaving his family behind.
Okay.
So it's like my mother didn't have a chance to say that my husband is staying there to fight for his country. He's the first man to flee. After 3-4 days, he came back, and everyone never asked him that, why did you leave? Because they accepted him what he was. Because everyone's psychological situation is different. People
are different
in a different way, because we are talking about it's an existential situation. It's like flight and fight mood, just like trigger, and then he's just gone. And then he comes back as a, broken man, and then everyone accepted him. And I think that's the best story. That's the best story. And the worst thing is, at the end, he could not actually, flee all the time. He was caught by the army.
Okay. Okay.
And,
so what happened to him after he was
he was
caught?
tortured. He was tortured. And then it's like terrifying story. So what they did, they picked him in a small military boat. Okay. Normally they used to just shoot them and then throw them in the river. But in my dad's case, what they did, the butt of the rifle, they just hit him in his head, and then he fell over from the boat.
Okay, and he then was able to...
No, because he's like knocked out. He was like lost his...
Okay.
So he was unconscious. But a fisherman found him.
So he was lucky.
He was lucky. He was one of the luckiest one. But
good to hear that it didn't end.
But my father never talked about that story to me or to anyone. Never. But we still saw those, like injuries in his back and those kind of stuff. But we also never asked him about those stories. But I think the family itself tried to move on with their lives after the independence. It was turbulent.
Has this changed him? Has this changed him?
No, I mean, he became more fearful. You see, so I mean, that's why I think that affected me as well, because I'm like one of those very, very sensitive and delicate from the very early age. And I think I was very close to my dad, and that affected my psychological upbringing as well. So I became seriously fearful about things, especially about war. I cannot sleep now because of, things happening in Ukraine. Because, I mean, it makes me, first of all, angry because I cannot do anything. My father, always there. I mean, he died like long time ago, but he survived after that war for another 30 years. But but you can see that what war does. My father was picked up and this like gunboat, and then some soldier from nowhere, no idea what this guy is about. He's got a family, he's got children, and he just thought that just like hit him with this rifle butt, and then he's gone basically.
That's the tragedy of wars, isn't it? Innocent people usually pay the price.
But tell us a bit more, because I really want to know, because because I kind of relate my stories as well. Because I mean, obviously, your father was trying to protect the family back home. You were talking about, putting extra door, to protect his family.
Yes, so I'm taking you back then to early 1990s in Georgia. As I said, the violent crime rate was very, very high. So it is one of the first things that I remember, probably because it caused stress, because I could sense that my parents were worried. And then I saw that black steel door suddenly replacing our wooden door. And I realized that, there must be something to worry about, since not only I'm hearing my parents talking about things that make me worry, I can also see this black door now in my house that reminds me every day that I'm in danger. So this is one of the sort of memories I have from Georgia, but I also have good memories. I remember having good time when I was going to nursery in Georgia, enjoying all the parties there. I remember having good time with the neighbors who would like to play music in the evening in just outside the apartment building. Drinking Georgian wine, highly recommended to everyone, by the way. So I have memories of good times too. and unfortunately, the last memories I have from Georgia are these where we had to leave because it wasn't safe for the non-Georgians there. Yeah.
Did I mean, you don't have to answer this question. So, did you remember the day when you were leaving Georgia?
I don't remember the day, but I remember how we left. We took a bus and it took, I think, more than 48 hours then to reach Greece from Georgia, maybe even 72. So it was between 2 and 3 days, and I remember that the bus was packed with people who were trying to just move to Greece. I don't have all the memories of the day. I don't know why. Maybe my brain doesn't want to keep those memories there. But I remember being on the bus on the way to Greece.
I mean, that's quite interesting. How the brain, stops us to go through that trauma. It stops us. Just like I don't know, like the brain has got this kind of mechanism. So that's why we have got just like flash of memories. Couple of seconds there, a couple of seconds there. But I think those memories stay forever. So like my memories with Afghanistan war, it's just a couple of frame, nothing else. But it's terrifying. It stayed. I still can remember the face of the girl, this Afghanistan's young girl, how she was injured, and still I can see.
Yes, this image just stay with you forever, right? I mean, 40 years might pass from that time, and then you can still see them you can still have them very, very clearly in your mind.
I think one of the recurrent memory of my life is my father's, a very fearful father. A child was witnessing a very fearful father.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's really not good.
Yes, that creates lots of insecurities because and might affect people later in their lives.
I think if I compare my life with your life, I think that your father's more like
Very strong man,
building things for the family to protect. He was there as a kind of main person to protect the family.
Absolutely, a very strong man. He still is a very strong man, and I'm very happy to have him as dad. I think he moved to Greece a few years before my mom and my siblings and myself moved to Greece, and by the time that we arrived to Greece, we already had a place to live and life there. He's a civil engineer. Although I thought I always thought that still thinking that he was in the wrong career. Maybe he could be a historian or a political scientist. He's really good when it comes to history and politics, and knows so much. I still enjoy talking to him about everything that's going on around the world. But my mom is also very strong woman, very strong. I think I grew up with two very strong personalities, two very strong characters at home, and that has really helped me to grow as a confident person. Yes.
I mean, like, tell us more about your mom. I mean, what she was doing. I mean,
my mom is a chemical engineer. She used to be. She's now a businesswoman. She owns a wedding saloon. Yes, from chemical engineer to the wedding industry, and she's doing pretty well.
Mm.
Yes.
So they're still in Greece, like, I mean, in the same city they moved.
Yes, they're still in Greece, in Thessaloniki, where my dad then built a house. Yeah, because as I said, he's a civil engineer, and
Oh my
we live
God.
there since 1994. Yeah.
Wow. No, I can now sense, you know, how protected you were, you know.
I was,
I
I still
sense it.
feel very protected and
Sense it. Yeah.
very lucky.
No, I mean, I can, I mean, my memories with you, because I've known you for some time now, you know, 6, 7 years probably.
Mhm.
And I saw you, you know, with one of those persons, you know, very composed, very, you know, like you don't have those, you know, stress, or you never show those things, you know,
Yeah.
and you take things very gracefully and try to understand, you know. We had a couple of memories where we faced other people in our, you know, own structure, and then the way you like deal with those things, I think that was much more, you know, I think that's your family's kind of DNA, very composed, in control, you know, and then, you know, tackling those things. I mean, lots of people just fell apart about those kind of things,
Yeah.
but I think that's
I think it has to do with, again, with my childhood, the experiences I had as a childhood. I know what is important and what is not important in life,
mm,
what is worth stressing about and what is not, because of what I've been through. And I like being in control of things happening around. So I try to stay calm and
mm,
do the best I can do, which is not always possible. But at least I try.
like my memories with you is always, you know, you are just like, you know, something very positive, you know. You are a force of positivity, you are a force of,
Thank you.
you know,
Thank you.
decency.
That's nice to hear. Yeah.
You are a force of, you know, just goodwill for people, you know, genuine goodwill for people. And
I
I
think
think
the environment here was very, very positive.
mm,
So I think it's hard to stay positive when you are in a negative or in a toxic environment. But when the environment is good, you also stay positive.
mm, mm,
Enjoyed being part of Dundee University
mm,
as a PhD student
mm,
a lot. I met
mm,
nice people. Everyone
mm,
was really, really nice, and felt supported for during my PhD years. So
mm.
I can only be positive because I received, all that good energy from
Mm.
people.
And also, I think you are one of those luckiest ones, because your PhD supervisors was just an amazing man. You know, Cameron Ross is just amazing, amazing guy. I mean,
Absolutely.
he was my own mentor as well. So I
Mm,
know him for almost 20 years now. It just, my memories with him is always very
mm,
special, very special. And I know like how he treated you, you know, how he, you know, took care of you. I mean, it just, I think it's a very wholesome relationship, and
mhm.
that's so important, you know.
Um, okay, so I'm trying to hold my tears, actually, because one of the things that can make me cry is talking about Professor Rose, and how supported I felt. So I should probably cut this
No, no, that's okay,
out
because
because I don't want to.
no, no, that's important as well, you know.
Yeah. The PhD sort of period of my life wasn't very easy, but I was lucky once again because Professor Cameron Ross was my supervisor, and I think I, I it wouldn't be possible for me to complete the PhD program if Professor Rose wasn't my supervisor, if it was a different person. I received a lot of support. I don't know if PhD students are supposed to have so much support, but I feel that I received a lot of support from Professor Rose. Um, And I think from other people in the department as well. I don't know. I don't know if you remember, if you here, if you were here, but I had to present at some point, and I was here with Andriana, and Edzia was in the corridor, and I played with her for a whole, I don't remember, hour, so I can do my presentation here. And I thought, you know, that was no, so nice of her. Other people as well in the department. I mean, I could talk forever about people in the Baltics department. Yeah, so.
I mean, is there any, like, you know, very special moment with Cameron?
Yes, there is. Well, there are many. I remember I had to present at a conference in Glasgow, PSA conference or BISA conference, I don't remember exactly. And I had to practice the presentation with Professor Ros in his office. And I had to take Andriana with me because I couldn't leave her, you know, with anybody, anywhere. And I wasn't able to say a word without being interrupted, you know, and he was so calm, but I was so so not angry perhaps, but you know, so desperate. I remember another time when I had a supervisor meeting with him. I gave her my daughter a pen and a paper so she can draw while we are talking. And when we left his office, I realized that she drew on her new trainers, which from the turn from white to blue by the time that I left the office. Yeah, so there are a few funny sort of moments.
I mean, Cameron is retiring this year. You know, I was really upset. You know, I was really upset. So everyone was trying to write email to him, and everyone is sharing their. But I wrote a very personal email to him, what it meant for me. So it's only Cameron and I know about that you know, that special memories, that special kindness. I mean, he has been showing over the years towards me. I mean, and he was good to my family as well. So every year, you know, before coronavirus, he used to come to our house. We used to go to their house. We have got lots of video memories as well with his cats, you know, all those things. So, but I mean, Cameron is such a shy person because one of my idea was to do a like long podcast with him, but he thinks that he cannot do it. I mean, I truly respect his position,
Yeah.
but I mean, probably, I mean, in future, perhaps he might change his mind. But I told him that I'm not leaving you. I am staying with you forever.
I understand what you say. I think when one of the worries I had when I was about to finish my PhD, to complete the program, was that now he's not my supervisor anymore, and I will probably not be able to see him as often, you know, as I used to see him, because it just the way he talks, the way he handles things, you know, just makes you feel calm and secure. And yeah, so it was one of the things that I was afraid to sort of losing. Graduating.
I mean, did you see? I mean, I never saw him got angry with anything.
No, I've never seen him losing.
This is the person.
No.
I mean,
and he could have done so with a few of my chapters, especially those that I was writing when I was on maternity leave. So I remember reading at some point one of my chapters and was thinking that, okay, who wrote this chapter? This is so badly written. How I felt, oh my God, I was like, I want to apologize for what you had to read, because I cannot read my own writing. But I think it was his way of, you know, keeping me going. Otherwise, if that was handled in a different way, probably because of how sensitive I was at that time of my life, I would have just dropped out. I don't know, but I can say for sure that I completed this program only because I had his support and guidance.
Because I mean, I think that's one of the, I think, best part of a good supervisor.
Yes.
He or she, understands what you are going through.
Yeah, and what you want to do with your topic.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take it? I think giving some freedom to PhD researchers to decide what they want to do with research really helps.
Okay, so I now I want to cover a bit of your PhD thesis. I mean, why did you choose this kind of topic area? I mean, what made you, like?
This really sounds like a Viva question.
No, okay.
Why did you? Okay, so I think I was reading for years. I always had an interest in U.S.-Russian relations, and I was reading for years about U.S.-Russian relations and also about EU-Russian energy relations. So I came to a point that I felt that I had something to say about the topic. And while I didn't have a clear idea what exactly I want to examine, what's the exact question that I want to look into, I had an understanding of what approximately I want to like study. So then, looking at the literature and what other people have said about the topic, I just identify a gap in the literature. This is how I got my research question, which is to what extent has US-Russian security competition affected the development of common European energy security policy? And I apologize for the long topic, for the long title here. Yeah, so that's how the idea of looking at the impact of great power competition on European energy politics was born.
So, like, I mean, this might sound like another Viva question. I mean, so what did you achieve? Like, I mean, what you can now say to the wider audience that you got this?
Okay, so I think the more intense the competition between the United States and Russia, the greater the impact on European energy policy is. I think that's, if I had to summarize my conclusions in one sentence, that would be it. Yes, really.
Because I mean, that's quite interesting. I'm not sure, like, if you can answer this, but if you see the recent development, like USA was saying that Europe has to, rely on someone else, not on like Russia. I mean, how far-fetched that kind of, idea? It looks like, suddenly you are asking someone that, you don't need to worry about, that, close to your border, who can supply you this. No, we can provide you, but we are 3,000 miles away, that kind of thing. So, like, can you just like give us some kind of insight on this?
I think so. The declassified material that I've examined show that the US has always been worried about the dependence of European states on Russian gas, Russian energy, and more specifically than later Russian gas. And the reason that they are worried in Washington is because they think that Russia can exert political pressure on European states if they are dependent, if they're too dependent on Russia. And also, of course, Russian gas exports generate income that then Russia can invest in the modernization of its military sector. And that makes Russia a stronger, more powerful state. These are the two main reasons why the United States wants European states to diversify supplies, gas supplies away from Russia.
So, I mean, if you're talking about, I mean, if you're talking about alternatives, I mean, how how logical those alternatives are?
I think there is a lot of discussion these days, about, for example, what would happen in case Putin decides to cut off gas supplies to Europe, which basically makes us think about the alternative to Russian gas. And I have to say that there are very few alternatives to Russian gas. For example, let's assume that Russia cuts off gas to Germany. Okay, then Germany would have to replace this gas from elsewhere. For example, Norway. That would have a knock-on effect on available gas for other countries. Another alternative is to Russian gas is the liquefied natural gas, or LNG, which is usually transported by sea, and we have deliveries of American LNG to Europe. But to what extent it could replace Russian gas? I think the truth is that in Europe, LNG terminals have limited available capacity to absorb extra supply in the event gas from Russia is disrupted. Also, recently, Qatar has admitted that neither it, and we know that Qatar is one of the world's top LNG producer, or any other country has the capacity to replace Russian gas supplies to Europe with LNG. And this is because most volumes are tied to long-term contracts and have clear destination clauses. So it's very difficult to completely replace Russian gas in that sense. I mean, Europe gets almost around 40% of its gas supplies from Russia. Some countries are more dependent on Russian gas than others are. For example, Russia only provides about 5% of the UK's gas supply, but other countries are much more dependent on Russian gas. Replacing it is not an easy task. I don't think it's possible to completely replace Russian gas in the next 1 or 2 years. Maybe if more LNG terminals are built in future, maybe then. But again, completely replacing Russian gas, I don't think it is possible, and I don't think it is also likely that Russia will shut off gas supplies to Europe. I mean, deliveries, Russia has delivered gas to Europe through the Crimea crisis in 2014, even after the imposition of sanctions, and also at the height of Cold War. So I don't think, if we don't want to, I don't think we will need to replace Russian gas.
So, will I be right to say that a peaceful Europe, including Russia, will actually, that will make Europe more prosperous?
Absolutely. I mean, who can disagree with that? Who can agree that a war is or can be better than peace, or can benefit more Europe than peace could?
Because like from 6,000 miles away, you can advise or dictate lots of things, but the problem is So that's like Chinese proverb. I mean, you can change your friend, but you cannot change your neighbors.
Yes, I think that's a good
So,
point, a good one there.
like from like 5,000 miles away, you can say that, yeah, you should change your neighbor. You cannot change your neighbor. That's the default position.
And you can change your neighbor.
And so, I mean, I don't know, the whole politics is just bizarre, And then you can see like what's happening now. Instead of, looking for prosperity, unity, and, peace, we are looking for like total destruction,
Yes.
destabilization, and all kind of, bad faith
Yes.
on the ground.
I think all parties involved should try to ensure that there is peace in Ukraine and in Europe, and everybody could only benefit from that.
And especially people like you and me who came from those kind of places where we saw how the economic crisis and scarcity of things created serious problem for society, for everything. So if you have this peaceful, what you call like perpetual peace in Europe, and you can see like, I mean, what Europe could actually give to the world.
Absolutely, but remember Kant's condition to have a perpetual peace. It's not easy to achieve one.
No. So like one thing I really want to know, because I thought you might be a good place to know about this. So this like pipeline between Russia and Germany.
Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2.
Can you give us some insight on those two things?
Yeah, so Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 are direct pipelines from Russia to Germany, and each is of 55 billion cubic meter capacity. So together 110. And they transfer natural gas, well, one of them, because the other one is complete, but the German Chancellor decided to halt the certification pipeline. So Nord Stream 1 was launched in 2011, I believe. Yeah, and it transfers just gas from Russia to Germany. It has divided Europe because European states, Eastern European states, were of the opinion that it will increase the dependence of Germany and Europe then as a whole on Russian gas, and it will be difficult then for Germany to take position against Russia if they ever have to. Obviously everybody, the Eastern European states were against building the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, as was the United States. But the pipeline was built despite the sanction imposed on it. It hasn't been launched, and I don't think it will be launched in the next maybe year at least, and until we have peace in Ukraine, because there is a lot of pressure in Germany at the moment. There was always pressure in Germany. Stop the construction of the pipeline, but now that it's completed, there is pressure on Germany not to import gas using Nord Stream 2.
So, like, can you give us some idea the physical, aspect of this pipeline? I mean, where it started and how it, came to Germany. I mean, how many countries it passed through, or was it?
It's an offshore pipeline, so it goes directly from Russia to Germany, which was an advantage for Russians because it was easy to build it. it would be very difficult for them, for example, to build a gas pipeline that would have to go through Poland or Ukraine or other countries because of the political situation after the annexation of Crimea. So because Nord Stream 2 is an offshore pipeline, it was much easier to build it, and according to the feasibility study, it made also more sense financially for Russia.
So, like, who paid for the infrastructure?
Russians paid for the construction of the pipeline, but there was also a lot of support by European energy giants, because then they would use the volumes imported via Nord Stream. So in general, there was a support to build the pipeline by the German energy giants, because they have interest then in the project, and they would resell also the Russian gas that Germany would receive via the pipeline.
Do you have like a bit of like knowledge on like Germans, their reliance on this gas pipeline? I mean, how much they are relying on this? What's the stake here?
I think they import 40% of gas from Russia, and the projection was that the reliance on Russian gas would increase because of the nuclear phase out in Germany. But we don't know how is that going to go now that because of the war in Ukraine. Because the messages we are getting now is that Germany wants to reduce its reliance on Russian gas, and there have been voices in Germany saying that for years now that Germany should reduce its reliance on Russian gas, but because of the business sector in Germany, the project stayed alive, the Nord Stream 2 project. What Germany can do with the gas, whether it needs that gas for use in the country because the demand will increase. Even if we have a decrease in demand, we still have a Germany that could export Russian gas to other countries.
Okay.
And make profit.
So that's an important point. So it's a business project by these two countries.
It is a business project. I mean, a business project should first of all make sense from a financial point of view, and it does make Nord Stream 2, Nord Stream 1, and all the pipelines make sense from a financial point of view. So it's not a political project, as many tend to say. It can be used. It can be used as a political tool, as can any pipeline. But it also makes sense from a commercial and financial point of view.
So, like, in terms of it's a more technical question. I mean, in terms of this energy prices, do you think Germany has got cheaper, this kind of energy?
We don't have details of the contracts, unfortunately, but yes, for years, what we know is that Germany would pay less than other countries in Europe for the gas they received, and perhaps that was exactly the reason why they preferred bilateral energy relations with Russia over collective European approach towards Russia, as other states in Europe, and that kept Europe divided when it comes to energy matters for years.
So I'll make a side comment here. You don't have to make any comments here. I think my side comment will be, Because it looks like with the Ukraine crisis, Germany is the first country who was quite willing to supply arms, and they put that thing. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense in terms of, their business interest with Russia, and then, inciting more anger with Russia by, taking initiative. I mean, it looks like something else is going on as well behind the scene.
I think Germans know that they need Russian gas, but they also know that Russia needs to sell that gas to Germany because that's income for Russia that the country would not be able then to easily replace. So there are contracts in place, and both sides have to respect contract. I think they know in Germany that Russia is a reliable energy supplier, and yeah.
So, like, I'm not sure, like, whether you have got this information that, so, like, during this crisis, current crisis, do you think the supply line is still going on? So Germany is
yes, Russia has not cut off gas to Europe. We don't know if it's going to happen, but I think that it is highly unlikely that Putin decides to cut off gas supplies to Europe. As I said, he didn't do that during the Crimea crisis, and even during the Cold War, the flow of natural gas to Europe remained uninterrupted.
So I'll move on, because these are like more deep area. One of the things I really want to touch is doing the climate change politics, the climate justice. Because so the things we are talking about, these are all fossil fuel we are talking about.
But I think out of all, natural gas is the greenest one. So people try to replace coal with natural gas, or nuclear energy with natural gas, and I think that means that we'll see an increase in demand for natural gas in Europe, and not a decrease as many experts and analysts predict. Because if you don't use coal, and if you don't use nuclear energy, you have to use something, right? And if you don't use, again, oil for the same reasons, so the obvious alternative is natural gas.
So this is the greenest out of those.
Out of
those options.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, personally, like, I'm quite against nuclear, this power, because that's much more complex area. Since 1950s, the people are saying that, oh, we'll be, nuclear power plant everywhere in like next 10 years. That next 10 years never came through. I mean, and also the problem is nuclear power plant needs lots of infrastructure, lots of water close to, sea, and all those problems. If the side,
and if something goes wrong, it will be a disaster, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think there is much support for nuclear energy in Europe.
I mean, like, what's your take? Because then whenever I, drive around Scotland, you see lots of windmills everywhere.
Yeah.
What's your take on this, like this renewable energy? What's the future for this kind of thing?
I think, I mean, this is a form of energy that could maybe not reduce the demand for natural gas, but maybe replace, the use of oil or coal in future. And if more and more countries install and use this, then I guess, they'll benefit from that. To be honest, this is not my area of expertise, so I don't know, for example, how many mills you have to install to, to cover for what you get from the piped gas. But yeah, there certainly can help.
But also, like, to change our lifestyle as well, lots of things.
Absolutely.
So it's not just like one thing. It's just a combination of things you have to change, modify, and then accept that, perhaps we don't need all those fast car. Perhaps we don't need, 24/7 electricity, perhaps, we should give the planet a chance, to breathe normal air.
Yes, but that change doesn't come, in a day.
No.
You have to educate people, perhaps the younger generation, because it's difficult to change habits if you're older. And maybe it is a solution for the next generations, but it's very difficult for people now to change the habits. So I don't see it could help in short term, because not many people would want to commit to that to change their habits, the way they live. Unfortunately.
And also, like, these are the thought process we normally do during peacetime, not during wartime. These are the good things.
Yes.
Good for the humanity. Normally we need peacetime as well, some kind of good time to think about.
Yes, I think that's a good point. I think when in a time of peace, then you politicians, those that have power, can focus on other issues important for humanity, for our planet. But during a time of war, I think everybody is 100% focused on what's going on there, where the war is. So there is less time, less energy, and less interest in all the important areas.
Since I try to, talk to you, I more or less touched most of them. I'll take another 10 minutes. Will that be okay?
Yes.
We know you as a tutor, as a PhD student, but lots of things we don't know about you. Tell us a bit about your hobby or anything you really enjoy in your free time.
Okay, I thought people know that PhD student doesn't have hobbies, and being a PhD student for so long means that I have no hobbies. I'm trying to now find out what I would like to do now that I've finished my PhD. But I've outside studying and writing, I haven't been doing anything over this past years. So I don't know, maybe just again reading, maybe this time something different. I recently started reading Anna Karenina, Leo Tolstoy, and the first thought I had was like, oh my God, he's using long sentences. If that was an essay, that would be the comment there. So it's difficult to enjoy things now because I still have that mood of that I have to work, and I am working. But I guess I'll go back gradually, to more normal life where I can enjoy things. I don't know, maybe traveling and doing things with family.
I mean, can you read like Russian as well?
Yes, I can read and write.
Okay, so
Russian. My writing is not good, but my reading, yeah.
So you are reading Anna Karenina in Russian or in English?
No, English. I couldn't find a Russian version. It was easier to find an English one. So, and I think I also know it's easier for me to read in English than in Russian. I read, but there might be words that I don't understand or expressions that I don't get. So it's easier for me to read in.
I mean, you can see, like, couple of things really influenced my life over the years, especially like Leo Tolstoy, like War and Peace, and Anna Karenina. It's just like it's always stayed with me, and also I quite like Dostoevsky as well.
Dostoevsky, yes.
Yeah, so the Crime and Punishment is always there for me. It's like the things Russia gave to the world. Even like people like Chekhov, all those writers over the years. I mean,
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I think we have to sort of focus on those positives to keep going. Even this discussion today with you has distracted from everything that's going on. So
because I think these talks are important,
yeah,
the things
it feels it is a bit like a therapy. It's
therapy.
I think the title of your podcast should be Therapy with Dr. Abdullah Yusuf.
Political therapy.
Political therapy, no, I think it is, therapeutic to touch upon all these issues.
Like one last point, because you have been a tutor for a long time. So you have been mentoring lots of students in your, career. I mean, what would be your advice for the students who are coming to university to, learn about politics, international relations? Like, I mean, what kind of mindset they need to do well in this kind of subject area?
So I think, first of all, Dundee University is a good place to study politics and international relations. Have staff from different parts of the world, and that is always very important when talking about politics, because they can give you different perspectives on things. I think if somebody has a genuine interest in politics and IR, studying a politics and IR degrees is absolutely beneficial. They will find out about how the world around them, about what happens in the world affects their lives and the lives of other people. They'll be able to understand what things mean. For example, I think also, I mean, if people are interested in IR, it's good for them to speak other languages as well, because then they that means that they can read publications by non-Western scholars, and that's again, eye-opening in many cases. So yes, just to be open to honest discussions in the classroom. I think that's what I would have to. I could advise to those coming.
I mean, now you have got a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
How old she is now?
She's 5.5 already.
Time flies, isn't it?
I know.
My God. So she's Adriana.
Adriana, yeah.
Okay.
Which means brave.
Okay.
And I like that. I like that in the name. It's a Greek name and also has a positive meaning. And I thought, if I name her Adriana, she would be a brave girl. But that's not how it is. I have to admit, she's not as brave as I would want her to be.
But I mean, I can see, like the way your parents made you, very resilient, powerful, brave. I think you have got those instincts, so obviously you will try to impose.
Pass them on to.
Yeah, pass. So I think
Yes.
This is a good gene, good DNA. You must pass this to your daughter.
Let's hope I'll be, successful there.
Yeah, and the good news is, like, I mean, we need, comfortable life for everyone, sustainable life for everyone. That every child can go to a decent school, comfortable school, so they can enjoy those early memories. These are so important.
Absolutely important, yeah, for our adulthood, and later a confident child is a confident adult. So yeah, I think that is the most important thing, after love, the most important thing is to build your kids' confidence, so that nobody else in the world then can take that away from them.
So, Dr. Ioanna
Mavromati, finally, after so many years, doctor.
Because the thing is, I mean, you are good. You are really good. You are special. You know, you have got everything, whatever, you know, a teacher needs in this time and day. I mean, you have got lots of goodwill, kindness, you know, and knowledge.
Thank you, Abdullah.
To give to the society, to the people. So, like, an absolute pleasure today, Ioanna.
Thank you too. It was again, as I say, you know, I don't talk often to people. Maybe I don't say that much often to people, and you have that skill of you know, making people feeling comfortable and talking.
And
so it was.
I mean, also, it's not the last time I'm talking to you. I will do like lots of things, because I mean, you will be now, you know, you are proper political scientist now. So people must listen to you now, and that's important. So I'll give you platform all the time. Very positive, productive platform. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for, you know, this nice atmosphere created. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye.